right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Today is November 10th, 2020. This is episode number 78. And today we're actually going to be taking a look at a couple of traits. We're going to be taking a look at trait 1. That's what was happening last week. And we just moved into trait 43. So we'll take a look at trait 43 and the quality 1. And what we're going to take a look at today is breakthrough. We're going to take a look at genius or freak. So that's what we'll take a look at today. All right. Before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Natalie. Hey, Natalie, welcome.
Yay. Glad to be here. It's always fun.
Great to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's go to Chris. Hey, Chris, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Glad everybody could be here with us today.
Great to have you, Chris. And let's go to Rob. Hey, Rob.
Hey, everyone. So glad you're here.
Excellent. All right. So let's jump in and take a look at this breakthrough, this genius to freak, as well as taking a look at trait 1 as well, which is our creative self-expression. So we have now moved into beginning our journey through transformation and change. So alertness that we took a look at last week, that was the last trait in bonding or connecting with others. Now we're taking a look at transformation and change. So we have creative self-expression. This is the creativity rooted in unique design. And we just moved into breakthrough, which is the 43 of insight, listening to your own inner voice. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Next week, we'll take a look at the 14. We can also see in November, we'll be also taking a look at personal power in the 34. As well as focus, the energy for detail. So as we can see this November, the theme is about transformation. It's also about individual power as well. So we are going to be taking a look at 2 of the individual traits today. So both the creative self-expression as well as breakthrough are both individual, part of the individual circuitry. Now, before we jump in, it's very interesting. Last week, we took a look at the election. I was just kind of taking a look at the background, and I just wanted to share a little bit about what I see, just to also kind of prepare us and just so that we can watch to see what happens. We took a look at the environment that we're in. And so if we take a look at the environment that we're in today, this is where we were last week as well. So this is the past and future direction. So that's what we're looking at here. This creates, in a sense, sort of the background frequency, the environment that we're currently in. Including last week with the election, it's about gathering together in direction, the expression of higher principles in the physical world, and the ability to focus the opportunity of gathering together for the service of higher principles. Or it can be the influence of a group action for personal gain, right? So it can be either or. I thought it was interesting also. We are currently in this phase with sales and marketing in the 26 of censorship. And so we've been seeing a lot of that as well. Again, just taking a look at it from a very neutral view, it's very interesting, just kind of listening to different news sources and things, how much censorship, that word, comes into play. So it's very interesting. This is the alteration of memory through elimination, the use of censorship to maintain the status quo. Right. So again, just kind of interesting that that happens to be the background frequency that we're in. I was looking to see when it changes and, also in a sense, how it affects this whole election, because as you know, it's up in the air and things are a little bit crazy at the moment. So if we take a look at the shift, the next shift is going to happen January 2nd or 3rd, depending on where you live. And so we have this moving. And when we take a look at the nodes, the past and future direction, it moves backwards through the wheel. So it will be moving into 45-3, which is gathering together, and it's about exclusion. The instinct to find a way to be included in the material process, or the expression of frustration when not included in the material process, an aggression, which often, an aggressive and often violent reaction to exclusion. So I just want to give everybody a heads up, just something to be to pay attention to, just to be alert to, and just to know that that is sort of where we're moving towards. So especially in this particular climate that we happen to be in, particularly here in the United States, where it seems like there is two sides that are battling, if you will, for the presidency. And we can take a look at one side, because it seems very very polarized, right? One side will win, one side will lose. And there's going to be people that feel excluded one way or another, right? So just something to pay attention to. As far as the sales and marketing side, again, this is the past direction. It's about influence, the ability, once prepared, to gather support, the authority to focus on communal effort, or the leadership, while gathering support, will underestimate the potential challenges. So just to give you a heads up, this is going to be an interesting few months here. So as we go through our BG5 Live, just kind of paying attention to kind of what's going on in the background, right? It's interesting that we had the trait 44.5. We talked about this last week in alertness during the election, which is about manipulation. So again, just looking at it from a very objective viewpoint, taking a look at both sides, did manipulation happen or did it not? Did manipulation not happen? It's kind of interesting that the 44 in quality 5 happened to be in manipulation during the election. So again, with that question of the election legitimacy, so again, just kind of taking a look at, again, at a very neutral way, just taking a look at what is there in the design, just so that we can be prepared. It's kind of like getting the weather report, and if it's going to be raining, right, you can be prepared for that. So it's just interesting being able to map on the environment that we're in with what we're currently seeing in the current events as well. So I thought that was I thought it was very fascinating. And I would love to hear from our panel if there's anything else that you see or want to add, or if there's anyone who's attending live or in our Facebook that would like to add something as well. Again, just an observation from a very neutral place to kind of take a look at, what's happening here.
I find it fascinating that things that actually are there in the environment show up in design, right? Like it's so, it literally describes something you see happening around, hear about in the news, etc. So yeah, that's just interesting. And it's good to know that we need to be prepared for potential aggressive and often violent reaction to exclusion. I hope not, but well, we've seen some violence in the past, the recent past, this summer, and so it doesn't make me happy, but at least we're prepared.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and on
How
the
about
other
yeah, go ahead.
What I also find interesting that for January, right, that the sales and marketing is also about gathering support, right? It's in a sense both gathering together. So yeah, and we can take a look also. There is the it says or, right? It's this or that, and it can be in the spectrum of. It doesn't have to go to aggressive, violent, or whatever. It could be also, an instinct to find a way to be included, right? To collaborate together, or once prepared, the ability to for authority to focus on communal effort, so that maybe it comes to unity again instead of being the polarization. So.
Right.
You never know which way it will fall, but yeah, it's interesting to see both.
Yep, exactly. Any thoughts for you, Chris?
Nah.
Nope, not right now.
Okay. How about for you, Rob?
Nothing too deep. I just, when I read the keynotes for last week, and then I looked at January the 2nd, the one thing that, with regards to the censorship, being in the environment, if you will, lots of my friends are talking about this. It's part of the everyday language, if you will. Lots of my friends just even this week jumped off of whatever platform they were on. For most, it's Facebook, and onto another platform called Parler, which promotes the fact that they're, all about free speech. So that is quite interesting that it's right there. It usually and always is. There's no mistakes, right? And then, yeah, when I look at this aggressive and often violent reaction to exclusion as being a possibility. And just if no one can tell the media this for a little while, that'd be fantastic, because they already blow everything up in every way. That this is, if you work for the media and this offends you, I'm sorry, but the media lives and breathes and eats when they create aggressive, hateful, fearful environments. So let's just keep this one right here in the circle for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. So again, remember, we are in the midst of this transition, the 7-year transition to 2027. The era of planning is going away. The era of illusion and delusion is also fading as well. And we're moving into the era of the individual. We're moving into the era of the sleeping phoenix arising from the ashes. So again, just kind of keep this in mind. Again, it's I always say, I believe everything and I believe nothing. Right. So again, take everything with that we're hearing with a grain of salt, and trust your own decision-making strategy. That's the only thing that you can trust as we go through these times. And it's already been a crazy and turbulent year, for many. And, so again, just hang tight, have faith that everything will work out exactly how it needs to work out, and make sure that you don't get caught up in the drama, that you always remained grounded within your own decision-making strategy. I think that's the main piece, to really ground all of ourselves in these changing times, right? It's changing in a major way, and we're witnessing it. So it's in a sense, in some respects, it's exciting to kind of see the changes, and it can also be quite disturbing at times, and quite destabilizing at times. But that's what change looks like. And not only that, we've now entered into, this time of transformation, right? So just pay attention to those things. All right, so let's continue, and let's take a look at really moving into the transformation. And the first trait that we find within transformation is creative self-expression. This is where we were last week. This is creativity rooted in unique design. And I love this picture with all the little duckies, right? And one that really stands out. So uniqueness is creation as a primal force. It's the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. It's the individual expression fulfilled through interaction, right? This is also one of the traits that is in the penta, which is the small group dynamics, right? And part of how it fulfills its purpose is through interaction, through connection. And so it's interesting, it's right on that border, if you will, between, right, connection and bonding and this transformation. Being true to your creative process, and when what you do and how you do it has the greatest ability to empower others. So when you are true to your creative process, that's when it has the most impact. It's not trying to be creative, it's just being true to your creative process. That's when what you do and how you do it has the greatest ability to empower others. And you're not here to be the best. You are here to be unique. All right. So this is creative self-expression. I would love to hear from our panel. Anything that you notice or recognize, or things that you want to bring to light about this creative self-expression.
Yeah, so my sister has the 1/8, so the 8 is on the other side, and this is her only strength. And what is really interesting, she doesn't try to be creative. She is, and she doesn't even recognize it herself at times. She does, right? But when others say, "Oh wow," then she actually kind of shuts down, because it's so coming from her core. It's so herself that she doesn't do it, quote unquote, for the gallery or for, right? It's just an expression. And I think this is really, since it's also the individual circuitry, it is really to be you, right? And just live it, just let it flow. And also with this creativity and the individual circuitry, sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not, and it may not be there, and then all of a sudden you're there. And also this kind of melancholic flow I also notice in my sister, right? She can have this spurts and this real joy in being creative, and then, like, I don't know where to go, what to do, or whatever. But in whatever she does, and actually she is expressing this in her work and always has been in her life, but it's hard even for herself to see, like she just is. So it helped a lot for me to give her this, because also it is it has leadership in it, and she doesn't, and she has more leadership in her chart, in her life work, but she doesn't see herself as a leader, because leader, for her, tastes like being the manager, like the like how we learned in the textbooks, kind of type of manager, right? You do this and you do that. But she is of course an advisor, having this only projected strength, but she's a living example. But then again, she doesn't feel herself as an example, right? And it's so funny to discuss this with her, and she needs to discuss, that's her decision making as well. But it's fascinating to see. But she is truly inspirational to others, and that's her whole job. She works with vulnerable people in society, right? So she is empowering. That's just what she is, what she does, without even knowing, kind of, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I love how you shared that, Natalie. Really beautiful. How about for you, Chris or Rob?
I'm just looking at this, the last sentence here. It says, you're not here to be the best, you're here to be unique. And this is really taking us into the Sleeping Phoenix in 2027. So, if we look at the root of it, the here to be the best is sort of, I'm here to be better than everyone else, to stand out. And so you see a lot of things that people do in their marketing to like gimmicky crap, to like try to stand out and everything. And it's like, what people don't get is that just be you. That's really what people want. You don't need a bunch of props or to do your hair in certain ways and wear like whatever. Like, it just, if that is your natural expression, by all means, and it's in alignment with your business and everything, by all means do it. But it's not necessary. There is something incredibly magnetic about simply being you. And what this, to me, I read this as, be the best version of you. And when you're doing that, you are naturally templating for others. You're calling them into their best version of themselves. I think about a soccer team or a football, European soccer, football. And like the star, right, is always like, who's the best? Who's like the star on the team? And yeah, they might get a lot of notoriety and they might score more goals and everything. But if you really look at the best, most beautiful games to play, it's where they're just being their best and they're elevating the whole team to being their best. And then that's really what we're heading into. That's what it means to be the highest version of yourself as an individual. You elevate everybody. You're not in competition with that person. You see them and you're like, that's your jam, this is mine, and let's work together. And that to me is just super inspiring. So that's what's coming up for me
I love it. Beautifully said. And just like Natalie said, this is a leadership strength, but that leadership is exactly what Chris just described, right? That leadership is all about being a creative role model. It is all about doing you and bringing up, if just like Chris said, the entire team, inspiring everyone, to up their game. Yeah. Beautifully said, Chris. How about for you, Rob?
Well, so this last bullet point is very appealing to me as well. And I got a lot of energy from what Chris was talking about. In fact, I posted about this last week in a different way because so on the other end of the 1 is the 8, and I have that. So Wonder Twin power is activated there, and boom, I was electrified. So I really felt this last week. And one of the posts that I put out there, and again, I was addressing leaders, is look, you'll be above average if you'll just be yourself.
I love that.
Right. And so if you go look at it, so that picture of the puzzle piece that you provide to us in our course, I used that to really hit it home. Right. And last week was a perfect, timing is always perfect, isn't it? It always is. And last week, for leaders, whether you're a leader of the country, leader of a company, solo entrepreneur, now is the time. And just like Chris said, we're leaving this old era where, give yourself up for the big team, where now we're moving into the individual. And so you will, and then we all understand this. I don't really need to repeat this, but I will just for the sake of making the point here. This cult idea of the best above average, it's a game that's gone. It's no longer valid. And I really want to hit that home for everybody. And, last week we kind of giggled about, just be the colored parts of your chart. That's what we're talking about here, because like you said, Karen, that is what the world wants.
Yeah.
That's what they want from you. So if you go up here and go into the mental space and either your own idea or maybe someone else's imposed idea of you should be this, or you should do that, or you should be more like so-and-so, or maybe try this, you're completely going off the mark, and you're actually, this is a strong word, okay? But you're kind of cheating the rest of us from receiving the real you.
Yep.
And there's only one person that can do that, and it's you, because that's what your design is. No one else can fulfill that. So you're not here to be the best. You are here to be unique. That's why your design is the way that it is. And when you do that, you essentially, without even speaking, you give permission, you give grace to the rest of the world to go do the very same thing. And we really need it right now.
Beautifully said, Rob. Beautifully said. Did you want to add something, Chris?
No.
There is a beautiful post in the Facebook from Liana. I've just hired a team and have been inviting them to dress as themselves, play the music they vibe with, and embrace all of their skill sets based on intuitive knowing. They're like, what? Really? The concept of being invited to be more of themselves. Oops, it jumped. To be more of themselves is foreign to them. This is the new model going into 2027.
I love that. I love that. And isn't this a beautiful trait to enter in this transformation? Because I think we're really, again, we're moving towards this era of the individual. And this is trait number 1. This is the most creative of all of the traits. And what it speaks to is creatively being ourselves. So it's very, very, very powerful.
She's sharing your quote, Rob, on her socials today. You're going to get famous, man. Yourself.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And again, you don't need to be the best, right? You just need to be unique, right? And that is what people want. That's what people need. That's what makes you stand out, right? Yeah. You don't have to try, you just be. And with that, as we move into the next trait, the trait of the 43, this is about breakthrough, and this is about insight, right? This is listening to your own inner voice. So it plays really beautiful into to what you were talking about earlier in reading the Facebook post. So when we take a look at breakthrough, this is the inner ear that listens to its own unique inner voice. It can also be deaf to others as well. In order for achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. So expressing and transforming inner truth into a unique perspective. Again, here we're still focused on the individual circuitry. So we're still talking about this unique individual expression. So again, we're still on that theme of really being unique and this breakthrough that's available in being ourselves and being unique and being able to describe what our new insights are. And to explain those unique insights, there needs to be the right timing, right? So we talk about that timing is everything. Our decision-making strategy is not only the right decision, it's also the right timing as well. So with the right timing, you can mold your awareness into a new structure that can benefit others. Insights must first be invited by others in order to bring the possibility of new perspective out into the world. Again, it is a projected strength, meaning that it does need to be recognized and it does need to be invited. If you're not recognized and invited, what happens? That's why it's the genius to freak, right? If you say it at the exact right time, it is brilliant. However, if the timing is off, if you're not speaking at the right time, you can be seen as a freak, right? And what's behind this is an awareness function. So all the awareness functions also have a fear attached to them as well. So this is the fear that your ideas may be too weird or that your fears may not be accepted. So it's the fear of rejection as well. So I would love to hear from our panel your perspective on this breakthrough, on this 43, on this insight and listening to your own inner voice.
Gladly. Okay.
Go ahead, Rob.
So Karen, remember the conversation that we were having before we jumped into the room about what's in my world right now and what's coming forth? That's so much of what's going on for me right now is I'm essentially hearing my own inner voice and I'm getting ready to launch, a unique perspective in the business world. So I'm really feeling this energy right now. And there is a fear, there's a fear of I could wreck my career. It will be too radical. They won't like me, they won't like it, blah, 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 etc. So it's just very, very, very interesting. I'm picking up on this one for sure as well. And I also noticed that Richard Learmont had his hand up.
Yeah. Hey, Richard.
We need to give him, let's see, allowed to talk.
It was.
Yes. There's something you'd like to add?
It was for the previous one, but
yeah.
Yeah, it had to do with the creative expression, which I really loved everything everyone said. Chris, you really nailed it, and so did you. All of you did. And for me, that really resonated a lot too. It's what my eyes really drew close to because, as a musician and a sound therapist and doing this work, but mostly in my musical capacity. I've been playing music for a long time and I don't practice or any of that stuff anymore. I mean, rarely. I doodle a little bit here and there, but and I don't really consider myself to be like a real, a gig musician per se, like where I a studio musician. Pretty much I create concerts and I create these experiences that are really unique and really transformational for people. And not at all do I find that my playing is really great in any particular way. I always, wish to be a bit more of a great musician, but I'm doing so many different things. I have, limited time to really put my focus there. Most of it goes to human design, actually. And but everyone really remarks on it and is like, oh my God, it's great. And they see me as just some sort of a genius musician. And it's just quite amazing, because what I do usually when I get into the act of doing it, I really tap into this place of just really sharing something with people and expressing an aspect of myself and or what the message that I'm trying to bring through. And usually in that time, it even with mistakes, whatever I may make, I do it in such a way that it's just in a creative way that people, they don't even hear that. They just really, they receive something from the experience itself. So I don't know if this ties into what you were saying, but it's really this creative, unique way of how I'm sharing. It has nothing to do with trying to be the best or perfected way of how I'm playing. And it's received incredibly well. So just wanted to share.
Really, really beautiful, Richard. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And again, this is that individuality, right? Not only the individuality that we're taking a look at the one, also it's the same holds true for this individuality that we're taking a look at here when we're taking a look at the 43 as well, right? This is something that really flows through this individual circuitry. This is really what we're moving towards when we're moving towards the era of the individual. Is just like Richard was saying, right? Being yourself. And oftentimes we beat ourselves up and we have this insecurity that we're not that great or we're not that good, but when we just be ourselves, right? It was a beautiful illustration, Richard, of what people are really looking for. Right. And it's the same here with the breakthrough. We have the individual expression. This is in a sense the mental expression when we take a look at the 43 and these unique ideas. Yeah, really, really beautiful.
It's also, Chris, you were first. Because
oh no, go ahead.
All right. So it's also the individual circuitry is also acoustic, and that's what I liked about what Richard also was sharing, that the music and the sound and etc. And you can see here the first bullet that it's about the inner ear, right? So it's the acoustic you hear in your head. This is literally la 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 la, because the knowing comes from within, right? And it's also, this is an inner knowing, and it suddenly kind of pops into your head, right? And maybe you don't know where it comes from, and maybe you have at first a hard time to explain, because it is such a light years ahead kind of concept that you see, right? Which can bring efficiency, but you may have a hard time to express it. And that's where the genius to freak also comes in, and the fear. So to be able to sit with it, and how to express it, and be invited to express it, because it's a projected strength as well. But it is about this acoustic attunement.
Yeah, beautifully said. I love how you highlighted that, Natalie. Thank you. And yes, Chris.
Yeah, I have 43 in an undefined conceptualization. And I actually wrote a book about inner voice, like trusting your inner voice and listening to it. Anyway, I was just kind of thinking about this over the weekend, where this expression of this knowing and the timing of it. So it's something that I've as we've been with the 61 activated for months and months, and it's continuing to be, which is all about inner truth and really, being able to detect the truth of what's going on out there. And so there's, as Karen brought up earlier with our environment, there is a lot of misinformation out there, and it's challenging at best. and downright delusional at worst, of how to get information, and to understand what is the truth, what really is the truth. And so I have been really for the last 6 months sitting back and watching everything, making really not choosing any side, just listening inside myself and practicing that of like, what is going on? And it was interesting because on Saturday, there was something that dropped in, and it dropped in so hard. And it was just like, I had to write about it. And I looked at what was going on in the world, and in the transits that day, and the 45 was activated, and there was a couple other things that were activated, which actually had the motor to the throat. Like I was able to express without having to be invited per se, what was coming through in this. Like it was so hard and fast. It just had to come out. And it's really interesting. But my fear was that it was going to be taken the wrong way. And I don't, whether or not it was, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be the case, but based on what people's comments were. But it was really interesting. So it really is deaf to what other people's opinions are about what they're seeing. Like I am literally deaf to what everybody else is saying. I'm just like, got it. That's your opinion. Okay, got it. That's your opinion. Oh, got it. That's how you're seeing it. Got it. That's how you're seeing it. What is my truth? And that is what this whole individual circuitry is all about. And it's really fascinating to watch it. So it's a very physical, obvious, because it's unconscious for me. It's a physical feeling that happens when the truth comes in, and it is a full body experience for me once it drops in.
Wow. That's really powerful, Chris. And this also brings up a really good point. What you were talking about, I just wanted to bring up this slide because this is one of those rare times that the opposition in the wheel, right? The opposition actually creates a strength, right? So right now, not only do we have the 6124 going on, right? We also have the 4323 happening as well. So it really is this individual mutative mental process of, I love how you described it, Chris, kind of watching everything that's going on and like, okay, I see that, I see that, I see that. I've been doing the exact same thing, and then really staying true to, okay, given all of the stuff that's out there, what is my truth? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
really beautifully said.
And it's easy, very easy, especially with an undefined conceptualization, to be swayed there's lots of very potent arguments out there in every which way, upside, downside, backwards, forwards, everywhere. And so this is what it means to not, it's not about being unique and getting your message out there in a big flashy way. It is about what is my truth, because when you speak from that place, your people go, there it is. There it is. And it doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to get flashy to do it. It's that you drop it in there. Truth is truth, capital T, truth. It's truth everywhere, all the time. That's what makes it truth. Everything else is conjecture.
Yep.
Even if it's logical. So
really beautifully said, Chris. Right. And that really actually leads to, we're really taking a look at the foundation here. And the foundation of breakthrough is patience in quality one. And so I think this is, all of us want to, rush to conclusions. I see this, what's happening right now is a good example of not waiting for clarity. Right? As with the whole elections, we haven't waited for clarity. And so when you don't wait for clarity, a lot of chaos can happen. And it feels like there's a lot of chaos because we haven't waited for clarity. So this breakthrough, the foundation of the breakthrough is patience. So the elevation is the depth necessary to bring into form an individual insight, right? So it requires some depth. And it's the recognition that new forms cannot be established until resistance has been eliminated. So again, it's just being able to allow yourself, even though this isn't directly attached to emotional intelligence, there is that, what's happening right now, again, and what happens with all of our decision-making strategies, there is an element that patience is necessary to be able to come to whatever the solution is. There is a depth that is necessary to bring form into an individual insight. The challenge is the delight in an insight, but lack of depth to establish it. It's the impatience to enjoy the sweets of accomplishment that inevitably leaves a sour taste in the mouth. Right. So it's for some reason, I keep thinking of the emotional wave of this buildup of desire and this crash of expectation. Even though that's not here in the individual, but it's there in the emotional system and being able to wait for that clarity. Here, we need to have that depth, and again, we need to wait for the right timing. Right. So half of the planet is defined emotionally. So half of the planet is here to wait for that clarity. And there's depth that's needed there. And again, this is the mental process, and part of knowing, when we take a look at, in a sense, what the wave is or how it works on the individual process. It's not there, 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 it's not there. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So right now we're going through a lot of I don't know, right? And it's waiting for patience for that mutation to happen. So I'd love to open it up to, again, if anybody in our Zoom room, anyone in our Facebook or our panel, if there's anything that you would like to speak to regarding this breakthrough and this patience that's required to get to that depth.
Yeah, one kind of going back to what you were saying about the emotional wave, and when I was coaching my coaching TED speakers, and they're like, or even other speakers, and saying, they're coming in, they're like, I have this idea, right? It's all about an idea. So it's kind of a mental form of something. And I would say to them, look, you can't, in order to change someone's mind, you have to touch their heart. You have to reach their heart first. You cannot change a mind until you get to the heart in some way, shape, or form. They don't have to be totally open, but they have to feel you. And so that, I think, is to me, when I see this, it's like you can have a breakthrough. You can have this very logical explanation of something, how this goes. But if people don't feel you, it doesn't matter. Your idea won't actually take root and germinate and do something. And so oftentimes people are just like, well, I just need to get the ideas out there. And it's like, yeah, nobody really gives a crap how smart you are. They really want to know, or how logically you can explain your idea. What they want to know is, do you get me? Do you feel me? And that ability to bridge that gap here and have the breakthrough, but then to be able to express it. And so right now, if you don't have the 23, it can be tough you might get it, but it's harder to get it down into the throat to have it be expressed. And so anyway, that's what's popping for me around this.
Yep, exactly. And remember, when we were talking about the 43 to begin with, one of the big things is that it is with right timing that you can mold your awareness into a new structure that can benefit others. It is all about timing. And so if the timing is not correct, right, especially if you have emotional intelligence undefined, or, if you have it defined, right, it's following that emotional wave, or however you make decisions, it's that patience to allow that breakthrough to unfold, and the right timing. Because again, if you don't have the right timing, you're going to be looked at as a freak versus the genius that idea can actually be. How about for you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, timing is, it sounds cliche, but it is everything, right? And the one thing that keeps coming forward is, you know, that the new form, the new idea, the new thing, whatever that is, it cannot be established until resistance has been eliminated. And, you know, with all the training that we go through for certification of BG5, it's all about eliminating resistance. And one of the hardest things as an individual, I joined the club, I actually chair the Monday night support group, and you could be a speaker next week, is on patience. Like it's my Achilles heel. And so I've asked people, or I've told people in the past, I'm like, and this was really more in terms of like my decision-making strategy and waiting to respond and having that patience and exercising that patience, like a yoga practice. I would tell people, you know, patience, and I would joke about it. I don't joke about this anymore because it's become a real thing for me. But this idea of patience, at first it felt like a form of torture, right? But now, you know, here I am in 5 years down the road of my experiment, both as a student and as a personal practitioner, and then practitioner taking it to the world. What else is there, right? Because again, and I would just say it this way, like none of it, we're on this ball of mud and it's spinning really fast. And then with 8 other planets, it's revolving around the sun really fast. We don't control the timing of anything. So, you know, I've just kind of gotten to the resolve now where it's what else do I have, you know? And so that patience, the reward is that the rest of the universe does its thing and the resistance is eliminated so that you can bring forth that breakthrough.
Yeah, really, really beautifully said, Rob. Wow. Very cool. And is there anything else you would like to add, Natalie?
Well, maybe some there are people in the Facebook group that are reacting as well. So Leah has the 43, but not the 23, and she says, yeah, totally hard to get the message out with words that make sense. She doesn't have the 23. And then Liana says, yes, patience really forces us to dig deep into trust in capitals. And Debbie says, I love that, Rob, as we learn about ourselves through human design, letting go of resistance. So, yeah.
Yeah, very beautiful. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, this is, I have both the one, I also have the 43 as well. And I have it in an undefined function. So just like Chris, you know, I can have these brilliant ideas and then it's like, whoa, like, how do I express them? How do I get them out in the world? Right? It takes patience. It takes depth. I do have it in the 43-1, right? So I can relate to that very deeply. All right. Well, we also have our celebrity here as well. I thought this was interesting. This is Henry Ringling North. He's an entrepreneur. He was one of the co-founders of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. So he has the 43-1 as his core essence, and it's about explanation. So it's about your knowing has a revolutionary quality about it. The root of understanding begins with efficiency and logically explaining one's revolutionary insights, right? And so, you know, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus really reinvented what the circus was all about. So it was very revolutionary. It was really bringing forth those insights. So he was one of the co-founders with his brothers of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, who also was awarded a Silver Star for his naval service during World War II. And he acted as the vice president, the treasurer, the director, and the operation chief of the circus. So the birth time is not exact, but either way, he would still be a 43-1. So I thought that was pretty brilliant. And so again, really kind of a representative of what this 43-1 is with these revolutionary new insights. Beautiful. Anything, any comments about,
But is it a thing? The Bros and Barnum Bailey Circus?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
went
It's a
when I was a
huge,
kid.
yeah.
Sorry.
I went when I was a kid.
Okay. So how was it revolutionary then?
The way that they're the ones that created the 3-ring circus.
Oh, okay.
So just kind of brought circus to a whole other level. I actually have a couple of friends that used to perform in the circus, and it really, in a sense, put the circus, on the map, so to speak.
Ah, cool.
So yeah, amazing.
Richard had something to add. I think he's still here. Yeah, he had his hand up to add something. And Richard, did you want to drop something in there real quick before we wrap up today?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's so right on about what everyone shared about patience for breakthrough. I'm a 4323, and but I heard the word being mentioned a few times, and I find this to be really, really important. Being able to trust yourself. This was a major breakthrough I had this year throughout this whole pandemic thing. Was really coming into that place of really, with all the things I know and this and that, that's always been a little clencher for me, trusting myself. And it really came through, prominently. And I keep hearing it in little bits and pieces, but it's a really, really important aspect. I'm a 43-2, which these insights and stuff that come through, I have no idea. They just come out of the blue, and I really have nothing to do with it, really. So it's really has everything to do with the timing and trusting myself, to go ahead when it feels right, and also the environment. That's the place. Where I'm at. This is the right place for me to share? Or that's another component too. I thought was quite important. So trusting and being in the right place as well as patience. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Really beautifully said, Richard. Thank you so much. I love it. Yeah. Well, we are coming to the end of our time here. So I just wanted to wrap everything up and then just have a few last words from our panel. Again, if you want to find out what your own design is, follow along as we go through the BG5 Live. See if you have it activated, if it's not activated, how it affects you in your design. You can download your personal chart. You can also follow along with the BG5 Live or sign up to attend live. You can also watch past episodes if you go to the free resource library. We also have our courses that are coming up here in January. So we're starting to promote our courses, and so take a look and see all of the exciting courses that are coming up here in January. So let's wrap everything up. So I would love to hear from each of our panel. I would love to hear just a recommendation for what to pay attention to, or what to be alert to this week as we take a look at moving through breakthrough.
Yeah, I would say so watching the environment and how people react, and don't call people a freak. There may be a genius behind what they say.
I love that. I love that. Beautiful. Thank you, Natalie. And how about for you, Rob?
I like what Natalie said. This week for me, I'm really going to just listen.
Yeah.
Right? Just be still and listen. I really like how Chris explained everything. And I mean, especially for right now, and especially where I'm located, it's just like it's a great opportunity, really, to listen. So.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Thank you, Rob. And Chris.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that. It's really listening and attuning your inner ear to your truth in it. If you look for the truth outside of you, it's not outside of you. It's inside you, based on your knowing what it feels like when you and sounds like, and your own This is just building that muscle even more. We're all intuitive. We all have the capacity to trust ourselves. This is just another invitation, another way for you to learn how to build that muscle. So have fun with it. There's no right answer. It's not about that. This is the muse that will drop in what you need. So if you're watching and listening and discerning what is your truth versus what everybody else's, it'll start to come, and it's quite remarkable when it does. It's really cool.
Yeah. I love that, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, and what we're just talking about with patience, you know, it is with the knowing, it doesn't, you know, it's not there, then it's there. So having the patience for it to go through that cycle and being okay when you don't know, because you may not know, and that's okay. Right. And so I love what everybody shared. And again, we can see that it really is starting to step into what is our unique creative self-expression, right? What are our unique ideas, and waiting, having that patience for the right timing for it to come across really as our genius versus looked at as a freak. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here today. It was a really great discussion, and a huge thank you to our panel as well. And we look forward to seeing you all next week, and we will continue the journey through transformation next week. So look forward to seeing you then. All right, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.